Deputy Speaker, key to stopping the spread of the virus is giving people the financial support they need to self-isolate when they need to. But millions of working people still don't have that. The government's test and trace support payment scheme is totally inadequate. Only a small proportion of workers qualify, and even those who do, at £500 for up to 2 weeks, it's less than the minimum wage. So will the Prime Minister finally do as I urged him back at PMQs in March, raise the statutory sick pay to the real living wage, extend it to cover all workers, and give people the financial security they need to self-isolate?
Mr. Speaker, I just remind her that in addition to the £500, there is also the support of universal credit, and to those who are thinking of not isolating still, alas, I must tell the House that there is a fine of £10,000.
Laura Trott.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I was glad to hear the Prime Minister in his opening statement refer to the need to continue with elective operations. My own trust has pledged to continue this through winter for as far as possible. Can he confirm that this decision will continue to be locally led and he will do all he can to prevent a backlog?
Yes. Minister.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, and it's exactly in order to prevent a further backlog that we need to prevent an uncontained outbreak of coronavirus now. And that's why we're putting the measures we are.
Mary Rimmer.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Prime Minister, you should have no problem in giving me a positive answer to my question now. For lockdown restrictions to work, the public support is essential. We know that. To give up what they enjoy most, people need to understand why. Will you, Prime Minister, commit to sharing the evidence with the public about why specific businesses types have been forced to close?
I repeat the undertaking I already gave earlier just now.
Video link. Alicia Cairns.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I thank the Prime Minister for his support for my campaign to ensure all women have partners with them for all scans and all labour. But can he confirm whether pregnant women in their third trimester should be shielding across the country given their much higher vulnerability to COVID, and that employers should recognise this and support them to work from home or in roles that aren't on the front line?
Women in any doubt about what they should do to shield from COVID should get onto our website, pregnant women that is, and consult the gov.uk website for advice, because there's plenty there for pregnancies.
Maria Eagle.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I understand and agree with the need to prevent households mixing to cut COVID rates on Merseyside. But this tough local lockdown is going to destroy many businesses and jobs that won't be eligible for the limited local furlough so far announced by the Chancellor, because they won't be forced to close by law. They'll just lose most of their business. So can the Prime Minister undertake to look again with his Chancellor at the business support scheme with the aim of ensuring that jobs and businesses can survive this tough next 6 months and be able to grow again in better times, rather than have to close now with all the misery, unemployment and bankruptcy that's going to result?
Minister.
I think, and of course, in addition to the billions that we've invested in CBILS, coronavirus business interruption loans, 19 billion in those to SMEs, 38 billion in bounce back loans, and so on, all of which are still available. We're making cash grants for businesses that are such as in Merseyside, that face these local lockdowns, that have been forced to close as a result of these local lockdowns, of up to £3,000.
Steve Bryan.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I very much welcome the Prime Minister's view today that a second national lockdown is not the right course for our country. As well as kicking the can down the road, it would be totally unfair on areas such as I represent, which for all manner of reasons, and there are many, have a completely different rate. But given we very obviously have a north-south split in our country right now, and there's no judgment or blame in that, and there shouldn't be, it's just a very stark fact. Can the Prime Minister tell us his opinion, and indeed what explanation he's been given by the experts as to why?
Mr. Speaker, the reality is that the disease is rising across the country. We've seen in other European countries and around the world that it sometimes rises fastest in one place rather than another. The sensible thing is to tackle it in a local way, and that's what we're doing.
Evan Brennan.
Thank you. 89% of positive cases were reached between September the 27th and October the 3rd by local authority public health tracing in Wales, but just 74% for the equivalent period by the outsourced centralised system in England. Now, that's not ideology, that's just better virus control policy in order to save lives. You need trust to be effective with test and trace. Does he now acknowledge that outsourcing the system was an error?
No, Mr. Speaker, no, any more than getting a vaccine from the private sector or a test device from the private sector is an error. You need a mixture of public and private. You need a mixture of national and local, and that's what we're doing.